What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NolanTCG, and we are back here today for another deck profile, and this time it's for Runick's. So I've played this for a little bit between kind of spells of playing Sprite for the past couple of weeks, and have really enjoyed it. It's one of those decks where you kind of feel bad for decking out your opponent, but it's kind of funny, so you just kind of go with it, and it makes it a lot easier to swallow. But of course we are, as you can see, first off, playing the Majesty's Fiend. But we'll go through the list as we do as always. But before we do get started, please remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people to the channel. And let's get on into this deck profile. Before we do get started on this one though, it is brought to you of course by yourplaymat.com, who got us our beautiful NolanTCG extra deck sleeves. These are available on yourplaymat.com, as well as you can get custom sleeves and custom playmats, so whatever you need for the current format. There is an affiliate link in the description down below that does get you a little bit of a discount on your order. Also, enter the code NolanTCG for 10% off your order. Also kicks back a little bit to the channel, so everything will be very much appreciated. If you're shopping there, you're getting custom sleeves, custom playmats done. Make sure to enter our code at checkout. But let's get on into this deck profile. Okay, so starting us off, we have our monster of choice. Of course, in the sideboard, you can change this. This is simply the one that we have opted for, and that is 3 copies of Majesty's Fiend. Neither player can activate monster effects. You are going to generate tribute fodder for this like relatively easily, so don't stress about not being able to summon it. In some games as well, like in sideboard, I will decide the Vanity's Fiend, just so you have some kind of fiend that you can tribute that just kind of slows your opponent down. At the end of the day, that's all you're trying to do. This is just here to slow your opponent down so that you can start manipulating everything and you can start decking them out. We then get into our spell line. Of course, starting us off, we have our 3 copies of Runick Fountain. This card is just so many pluses. You get the draws, and you can just activate them from hand, so you don't have to stress about activating them. The only problem is if it gets like popped, you kind of miss on your chain to being able to get the draws off, which can become a little bit frustrating, but hopefully you've just thrown everything onto the board and they couldn't come back from that. Fingers crossed, hopefully. But then we do have the rest of our spells, of course. 3 copies of Runick Tip. Generic Searcher for the deck gets you everything. Then we have our Freezing Curse, our Monster Negation. Pretty standard. All these cards are getting you further and further to the bottom of your opponent's deck, which is though at the end of the day, that's what you want. So yeah, mill 3, always good. Then we have our Flash Fire. This is our pop, and then we get another mill 2. We have our Runick Destruction. This is our spell and trap removal, and then mill 4. We're banishing the top 4. Slightly better. But yeah, ultimately you're noticing like all of these cards, just like these cards specifically, the rest of them not so much. These cards that we've shown here are the cards that I think should always be played at 3. You're just interacting directly with the opponent, and then you're getting the mills. You're taking away advantage from them, and then you're stripping them away more by getting the cards out of their deck and getting yourself closer to victory. We then have the rest of the list, however. These are where you start to get a bit more fluid in what you're playing for your Runick spells and traps, so feel free to mix up your ratios. We do have 3 copies of Golden Droplets. You're force feeding your opponent, you're getting them to banish 4. I don't like using this constantly because, yes, you're giving your opponent a reason, or you're giving your opponent resources, effectively. You don't want to give them the out either. In games 2 and 3, I will normally side this down. Game 1, not too bad, because it's very rare that they're playing like multiple outs, so forcing the out isn't that bad. But you're going to be giving them 1 card, taking away 4, so it's a 20% chance that they draw the out in those 5 cards. There's an 80% chance that you get rid of the out. That's how math works, except it's definitely not, because each of them changes the odds. Then we have our Runick Slumber. This is just effectively a stall card. I think this is just one that you should be playing at 3 regardless. It helps you get to another turn, which can be pretty important sometimes. Runick Dispelling then comes after that. Your opponent adds a card, you rip a card, and then you get some more cards off the top of their deck. And then lastly, we have our, I guess it's a Judgment. Not our, like a Solemn Judgment, it's a Balanced Judgment. That card. Balance of Judgment? My brain's decided to strike a blank. Your opponent's gone Super Plus, you're going to go Super Plus and just rip a bunch of cards out of the top of their deck. We then get to our more generic spell lines. First off, it is 3 copies of Mystic Mine. Everyone is playing an out for this card now, so it is something that I am definitely considering cutting. I quite actually want to play, or really want to play, that's probably the better way to phrase this, to play the Spellbook package. I want to be playing Spellbook of Judgment and then being able to use like Blue Boy and it searches off. I just think that could be like really fun to mess around with in this list. So that is probably something that I am going to put in next. It is going to probably see the Mystic Mines be cut. We will probably slim down on Golden Droplets, and then we'll remove the next card. The next card is Triple Tactics Talents. 3 of that. Probably the worst card in this list. I drew this card so often going first, and it doesn't really do anything for you unless you get ashed. So especially when a lot of people are playing board breakers, this doesn't get you as much as you would like to get. At the end of the day, you want to be drawing more resources, but I found it's very rare that this card comes up. At least in game 1, and that's when I was seeing multiple of it, which made me hate the card so much more. Then after that, we have our 2 copies of Pot of Desires. Probably another card I would cut if I put in the Spellbook package, given that you do have the Blue Boy ability to draw cards. We then have a 1 of in 1 copy of Terraforming to get us to our Runick Fountain. And then rounding out the main deck, we have 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More, just so we can turn off the opponent's board, then start building our resources forward. Surprisingly, turning off the opponent's board and then like popping the 1 negation can be really cute in just ripping your opponent's board to shreds. All of a sudden, they can't get back that resource because you're just going to be start slamming things down. You're going to be drawing a bunch, getting rid of cards from their deck. So just being able to turn everything off, really good. Okay, now next off we have our extra deck. Extra deck for this deck is relatively simple. We have our 3 copies of Hugin, the Runick Wings. Nets you the search, which is always good. Also gets you protection. This is the one you will definitely be using the most out of everything. The rest get you like your niche interactions. So next off we have our 3 copies of Moonin. Gets you the continuous spell. This is also the one that lets you gain life points. So this is your like end of game procedures card. Definitely something that's cute to have. And then we have Gary, or this is the good bloke Gary. He's probably the one that I like the least. He's normally what I'll throw out and use as tribute fodder. Yeah, at the end of the day, he can add back from grave, which is always good. That is where, he's the graveyard adder. But it's just rare that I'll actually use it. Yeah, I guess when you're looping Fountain, I should probably have pointed out earlier, Fountains are not once per turn on the draws, so if you replace the Fountain, you can go again, which is quite cute. Gary helps you loop Fountains, which is probably the best application for him, but that just doesn't come up as much as you would think it does, especially when it's not like at 3. Then for the rest of the extra deck, this is pretty relevant to what I have in the side deck, so I am playing Ultimate Slay, which does mean I have necessarily have the need to play 3 copies of Entis, 1 copy of Omega. This is just here to get your resources back. 1 Barricade Board Blocker. You can make this card like relatively easily, and it gets you back the field spell, which is always good. And then we have 1 copy of Trouble Sunny after that. But that does wrap us up here for the deck profile for this one. So as always, if you do have any recommendations or things you would change, do make sure to comment them down below. Also comment below the build that you are playing now for Runick's. What are you mixing it with? How are you making that work? But as always, I've been Ben from NolanTCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.